So a big part of my work is ego work, and it's about recognizing when your ego is at play and when your higher self is at play, when the truth of who you are is expressing through you. Now, I mentioned in a previous video that the role of the ego and what the ego tends to do. The ego does have a purpose, and the purpose is not negative, right? Like, the ego is here to help us have this human experience. But at the same time, what tends to happen is that we get caught up in our ego and we believe that we are the ego. And some of the ways you can tell that you're caught up in your ego is when you're taking things personally, you're being triggered and you're reacting from that trigger, like not responding, but reacting from that trigger. When you're getting caught up in the stories you're telling yourself, when you're seeing things not necessarily as they are, but probably filtered through how you feel and without actually processing your feelings. The thing about the ego is that it is reactive, right? So it generally has this tendency to want to protect us. It generally has this tendency to want to defend itself. Okay, so say for instance that you're in a situation, you get in a disagreement with someone, right? You start feeling anxious, and instead of like pausing and slow it down, you start yelling and screaming, you disrespected me, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. That is likely your ego. And how you know that is because it's very reactive. It has a very strong energy behind it. The energy feels quick. It feels pressured. It feels overwhelming. It's like it just moves so fast, and it feels this. It's like this sense of I gotta defend myself. I gotta defend myself. That's a lot of times how it talks. Like, I gotta defend myself. I gotta speak up for myself. I need to be seen. Like, I want to make a show. I want attention. Whatever it is, right? Instead of you directly saying what it is you want and need, ego tends to be performative about it. That's how I'm seeing it. It's like performative about it. And so when we think about our ego compared to the idea of being in a state of being, right? Being in a state of pure consciousness, allowing ourselves to be in this frequency of I am, right? Our ego tend to be in a more survival mode, right? This need to, I have something to protect. I have something to care for. The reason why you might hear people say kill the ego is because I'm more of a manage the ego kind of person, in the sense that I'm aware that I am not my ego. I'm aware of my ego. And so a lot of times, like, if I feel like if I'm in a conversation with you and all of a sudden I start feeling anxious in this conversation, or I start feeling defensive in this conversation, that is my ego, right? But as an observer, as the witnesser, I notice that's my ego. I don't need to, like, you're not doing nothing to me. What you're doing is triggering, hitting the points of the stories within me, right? You're hitting the points of some past experience. You're waking something up that has felt triggering before, that have felt harmful to me before. You're not actually doing anything to me, but what you're doing is actually messing with the mental construct that the ego has created, or that is created of the ego within me. Okay? And so a lot of times when they say people are not responding to the actual situation, a lot of times they're responding to a memory. That's what they mean. Or they're responding to a story. That's what they mean. A lot of times, like, people aren't actually mad about what you said or mad about what you did. What you said or did likely is a mirror of something within them that they have yet to transmute, that they have yet to heal, that they have yet to process in a loving way, so that they can remember that's not their truth anyway. Nothing can hurt us, right? If we don't attach to these stories, we will be fine. We will still have our human experience. We will still enjoy life, even without this belief that I have to defend myself. I have to protect myself. I have to protect the story of who I am, the identity of who I am. You don't have to. You don't have to. Everything will be fine. You will be fine. Your ego will be fine. But a lot of that is also part of, like, resetting your nervous system, because part of resetting your nervous system will also be transmuting the things that the ego is made of, right? That the stories that are being held in your body, right? They say the body keeps score. The body is keeping those stories. But think about it. Whatever story or belief you have about the situation that you experienced in the past is really a reflection from that version of you. If you were to look at it now, what you could tell a whole different story, because you have a different level of consciousness. You have a different level of awareness, so you may not see it. Like, a lot of things I used to see as they did this. I don't know if I ever really used to say they did this to me, but if I did, like, yeah, now I'm caught there. Okay. If I did, then I know now I can go back and be like, no, they were showing me something about myself. They were helping me realize that I needed to be more confident in myself. I needed to believe in myself more. I needed to give myself permission to be human, give myself permission to mess up, give myself permission to fail, give myself permission not to get it right, give myself permission to be faulty, like, give myself permission to just be. And that comes with trial and error, you know. But the whole thing is, like, you are not your ego. Your ego is a mental construct. It is made up of stories, beliefs, ideas, memories, and all these other things. And it gives you a sense of identity. It helps you be like, hey, I am me, you are you. But at the end of the day, if we were to continue to release these attachments of the ego, all we're doing is remembering the truth of who we are. We're remembering that we are not these egos. We are pure consciousness. We are the observer of this experience. We are the creator of this experience. Our state of awareness creates the story behind what this experience means, right? What this experience signifies, what it symbolizes for us. So I just want to remind you that you are not your ego. You are the pure consciousness. You are the awareness. You are the one witnessing this experience. You are the one seeing what's happening, noticing what's happening. Okay, and ego comes in usually to tell a story, to try to rush and make sense of what's happening. But if you just slow down, and even when you're feeling anxious, even when you're feeling overwhelmed, and just ask yourself, what is this bringing up for you? What is this really about? Why are you feeling anxious right now? Does this moment remind you of anything? You will realize very quickly that you are not your ego, that you are not your feelings, that these triggers are just reminders that there is something in you that is not in alignment with the truth, that you are pure consciousness, that you are flow, that you are the state of being. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. I want to talk more about the ego here too, because all of this is energy work. All of this is about us, what we're vibrating, what we're broadcasting energetically out into the world. Your ego is a part of that, right? That what's activated within you, what's subconsciously playing in the background, all of that is going to play into your aura, into your frequency. I'm very big on human design, so if that is something you into, I do teach human design. I've been taking a little break from it, but we can also geek out about that, because that also plays a big part in the ego. It plays a big part in nature versus nurture, and all how energetically people may perceive you. And just also, like, what are you broadcasting to the world? Is it your insecurities, or is it the truth of who you are? What's activated? What is your primary state of being? And remember, our state of being can constantly shift, but there's usually something that's more proclaimed, right? Is it fear? Is it love? Is it kindness? Is it flow? Is it joy, right? Is it compassion? Like, how do you move around the world? Are you in survival mode? Or are you in a state of knowing that you are I am, that you are pure consciousness, that you are ease, that you are flow, and that you are safe? Even when you feel anxious, that you, pure consciousness, you as a witnesser are safe. The ego, on the other hand, may be a little concerned. So, I love you, and I'll speak to you later. Ego Talk!